I never thought I'd bury a body in the Nevada desert. But that's what love does. Makes you dig your own grave first. My husband,
Tom.
swore it was just a one-time favor, covering for his parents' little accounting slip-up to keep the family afloat. But that slip-up turned into a federal indictment I carried like a noose for 15 years. And when I finally snapped the rope, freezing every dime they'd siphoned from my nest egg, I watched their golden retirement crumble not with guilt, but with a kind of savage joy that only comes from realizing betrayal tastes like ash. It started in the sticky summer of '09, back when the recession was still gnawing at America's bones like a junkyard dog. I was Madeline Harper then, 32, fresh off a corner office promotion at a Chicago derivatives firm. The kind of place where suits cost more than most people's rent and ambitions smelled like overbrewed coffee. Tom and I had met at a rooftop mixer in the Loop, him with his easy Midwestern grin and me with my calculator brain that could spot a bad bet from across the room. We married fast. Too fast, maybe. In a courthouse ceremony with hot dogs from a street vendor instead of caviar. His folks, Richard and Evelyn Whitaker, showed up in their Buick from the suburbs of Naperville, all pressed khakis and pearl necklaces, beaming like they'd won the lottery on our dime. Richard was the archetype of the American everyman gone slightly sour, a retired auto parts salesman who'd clawed his way to a modest pension, always spinning yarns about the good old days when a handshake sealed deals and not some app. Evelyn, his shadow, was all passive-aggressive charm, the type who baked lemon bars laced with unsolicited advice. They adored Tom, their golden boy, the accountant who'd bailed them out of one too many bad investments. But me? I was the outsider. The city girl with a trust fund from a dad who'd made his millions in oil before croaking from a heart attack. They saw my money like a life raft, and I was too in love to notice them paddling toward it. The hook sank in during our first Christmas as newlyweds. We'd driven out to their split-level ranch house, the kind with aluminum siding and a Virgin Mary statue in the yard that Evelyn dusted weekly. Over eggnog spiked with cheap bourbon, Richard pulled Tom aside in the garage, muttering about debts from the crash. I caught fragments, something about a Ponzi scheme they'd dipped into with a neighbor, promising 10% returns on guaranteed real estate flips that evaporated when the housing bubble popped. 10 grand here, 20 there. It snowballed into six figures they couldn't repay without dipping into their 401k, which was already thinner than Evelyn's patience for kale. Tom came back pale, whispering in my ear as we lay in the guest room that smelled like mothballs. It's not much, miss. Just a bridge loan from your investments. Dad swears he'll pay it back double once things stabilize. I stared at the water-stained ceiling, my mind racing through risk assessments. My portfolio, built brick by brick from Dad's inheritance and my bonuses, was diversified: tech stocks, municipal bonds, a sliver in hedge funds. It wasn't infinite, but it was mine, a safety net for the kids we planned to have. Still, Tom's eyes pleaded like a puppy's.
And I caved.
One time, I said. And we tell no one. That one time became a habit. By 2011, their loans had trickled into my Vanguard account like a slow leak, transfers disguised as family gifts, statements shuffled under piles of holiday cards. I didn't notice at first. Work swallowed me whole. 80-hour weeks modeling catastrophe bonds while Tom climbed the ranks at his firm. We bought a condo in Lincoln Park, hosted barbecues on the balcony overlooking Lake Michigan, and pretended the Whitakers' calls for just a little more were water under the bridge. But deep down, I knew. Every time Evelyn cooed over our new granite countertops, her eyes lingered on the gleam like she owned it. The real gut punch came in 2014, when the feds knocked on Richard's door. Turns out, that Ponzi wasn't just a bad bet, it was a full-blown fraud ring run by his old golf buddy, Billy Hargrove, who'd roped in half the Naperville Rotary Club. Richard hadn't just invested, he'd recruited, sweet-talking widows and plumbers into wiring funds that vanished into offshore accounts. The SEC traced it back, $2.3 million gone. Victims lining up like Black Friday shoppers at the prosecutor's office. Richard's name was everywhere, front-page Sun-Times. Even a segment on the local news with that anchor who looked like a Botoxed weatherman. Panic hit like a freight train. Tom called me at midnight from the road, his voice cracking as he sped back from a client dinner. Dad's looking at 20 years. Mess. They think he knew the whole time. I was in bed, scrolling Zillow for a bigger place, dreaming of a yard for the dog we still hadn't adopted. Knew what? I asked, but I already sensed the rot. Richard had forged signatures, cooked books, petty stuff compared to Billy's empire, but enough to make him complicit. The evidence? Emails, wire transfers, and worst of all, a dummy account in Tom's name for consulting fees that Richard had fabricated to launder a chunk. Tom begged. We can fix this. Just take the fall on one piece. Say, it was your idea. Aside, hustle gone wrong. Dad'll cop to the rest. I laughed, bitter and sharp, like swallowing glass. Me? The quant whiz with a clean ledger? But Tom painted the picture. Family shattered. Evelyn in a psych ward. Him losing his license before it even started. For us, he whispered. For the life we're building. Against every screaming neuron in my brain, the ones that modeled black swan events and priced moral hazard, I agreed. We backdated documents. Made it look like I'd greenlit a speculative venture for my portfolio to diversify family assets. The feds bought it. I got probation, a $50,000 fine, and a scarlet letter on my resume that killed my corner office dreams. Richard walked with time served and community service, golfing by spring. I swallowed it all, chalking it up to marital math. One sacrifice for a lifetime of stability. We moved to the suburbs ourselves. Elmhurst, with its tree-lined streets and PDA vipers, had Lillian 16, a squalling redhead who looked just like me. Tom thrived, partner track at Deloitte, while I pivoted to freelance consulting, piecing together gigs from my home office that smelled like baby formula and regret. The Whitakers? They bloomed. Richard's Lessons Learned became a self-published book. From bust to boom, Surviving the American Dream, hawked at library talks. Evelyn started a blog, Silver Linings in Suburbia, monetized with affiliate links to anti-anxiety teas. By 2020, with COVID checks padding their coffers, they cashed out a condo in Scottsdale, Arizona, all cacti and casitas, retiring at 68 like lottery winners. I saw the statements in 22, buried in a tax folder Tom left on the kitchen island. My investments, now a tidy $1.2 million after years of compounding, had been quietly reallocated. Not loans anymore, but outright drains. $300,000 for the condo down payment, $150,000 in gifting to cover their IRA shortfalls, even $80,000 funneled into Richard's philanthropy fund, which was code for a vanity winery in Napa he never visited. They'd hacked my login, Tom's doing? No doubt. Using our shared password from our honeymoon. For the family, the memo read on one transfer, as if that erased the theft. Rage simmered slow, like a pot left on low. I confronted Tom over takeout lo mein. Lily asleep upstairs. How long? I asked, voice flat as the Midwest plain. He crumbled, tears mixing with soy sauce. Since the plea deal. They needed security. Mess. We all did. Security. The word tasted like lies. I'd borne the shame, the job interviews where they Googled my fraud stint, the whispers at Lily's preschool about that mom who cooked the books. Meanwhile, they teed off under Arizona sunsets, posting selfies with margaritas and captions like blessed. But I played the long game. The way Dad taught me, patience in volatility. I hired a new advisor.
Elena Vasquez.
A shark from Miami who'd clawed her way through Wall Street's glass ceilings. Sharp as a stiletto, with a Rolodex of forensic accountants who could trace a dime through a dozen shells. Freeze it all, I told her over Zoom, my screen reflecting a woman I barely recognized, lines etched deeper, eyes like polished flint. Every account, joint or solo. Make it look like a glitch, but airtight. Elena didn't blink. You sure? This scorches earth. Madeline. No bridges left. I thought of Richard's smug grin at Thanksgiving. Toasting to family first, his fork spearing my turkey like it was owed. Earth's already ash, I said. Light the match. The freeze hit on a Tuesday in November 25. Black Friday Eve, when retail dreams danced in consumer heads. Richard called first, voice quivering like Jell-O at a potluck. Mess, the bank's saying. Error, our direct deposit bounced. Evelyn's meds. I let him ramble, picturing her pearl clutching in their adobe palace. By noon, Tom stormed through the door, face thundercloud gray. What the hell? My 401k is locked too. I'd looped him in accidentally, or maybe not, tying our assets in a knot only Elena could untie. We screamed in the kitchen. Lily at school. The argument echoing off stainless steel. You stole from me, I hurled. A coffee mug shattering against the fridge. 15 years.
Tom.
I took the fall so your daddy could play hero. He fired back, veins bulging like overpressured pipes. And what about us? You think this fixes anything? You're ruining lives.
Ruining.
The word hung, controversial as a ballot box in a swing state. Was I the villain now? Starving grandparents for a grudge? Or the avenger? Reclaiming what's mine in a country built on cutthroat capitalism? That night, as sirens wailed distant in Elmhurst's quiet burbs, I sat on the deck with a glass of Cabernet, watching fireflies wink like guilty stars. Elena texted, done. Offshore hold, untraceable. The Whitakers were grounded, condo payments defaulting, the cards maxed, Richard's book royalties rerouted to a dead-end account. Evelyn's blog?
Dark.
Last post a cryptic when the nest empties. What flies away? Poetic. For a thief. But revenge, I learned, is a boomerang. Tom packed a bag by dawn, muttering about boundaries and therapy, Lily's tears the soundtrack to our unraveling. He crashed at his parents', the three of them a bunker mentality against me, the betrayer of betrayers. Calls flooded, Richard's sob story voicemails, Evelyn's guilt-tripping texts laced with Bible verses. Forgive as you are forgiven, one read. I deleted them all, but doubt crept in like humidity before a storm. Was this justice? Or just another layer of the con? The fallout spread like Midwest floodwaters. Slow but inexorable, swallowing everything in its path. By December, the Whitakers were back in Illinois, couch surfing on old neighbor's mercy. Their Scottsdale dream foreclosed faster than a subprime mortgage in '08. Richard took a gig at Home Depot, stocking shelves in fluorescent hell, his golf tan fading to pallor. Evelyn volunteered at the food pantry, irony thick as gravy, dispensing canned goods with a martyr's smile. Tom shuttled between our half-empty house and their motel room, playing referee in a war where I held the nukes. I didn't relent. Elena layered on complications, liens on their Social Security, flags on Richard's book sales funneling to a charity I picked, victims of financial fraud. Poetic payback. My portfolio? Untouched. Blooming in the freeze like a hothouse flower. Work picked up too. Turns out, a reformed fraudster makes killer TEDx fodder. I keynote at a fintech conference in Austin. From fall to firewall, reclaiming your American wealth, the crowd eating it up like brisket at Franklin's. Lily beamed from the front row, her pigtails a beacon in the sea of tech bros. For the first time in years, I felt solid, unbreakable, like the granite cliffs Dad used to climb in Utah. But cracks formed. Tom's lawyer sent papers, separation, citing irreconcilable financial differences. I laughed over Merlot with Elena. Video call from her Keys condo. Differences? Try grand larceny with a side of hypocrisy. She swirled her own glass, pixels shimmering. You're winning the battle,
Chica.
but the war? Family's the real casualty. Winning. In America, victory's measured in metrics, net worth,
Likes.
square footage, but mine tasted hollow, like decaf in a diner at 3 a.m. Lily sensed it first. 8 now, with my freckles and Tom's stubborn chin. She started drawing families in crayons, stick figures holding hands. But mine always off to the side. A storm cloud overhead. Why's Daddy sad? Mommy, she'd ask. Homework forgotten on the oak table. I'd spin yarns about grown-up puzzles, but her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, saw through. School counselor called. Behavioral shifts. Bedwetting relapse. Guilt gnawed. Controversial as a school board debate over masks. Was I poisoning her well for a score settled? Or teaching her that boundaries aren't optional? Even for blood? The antagonist in this drama? Richard. Of course.
Oh.
He flipped scripts like a Vegas dealer. 1 minute the remorseful patriarch penning apology letters in loopy script. I failed you, Madeline. Like I failed myself. The next, the wounded lion roaring on Facebook Lives from the motel Wi-Fi. Betrayed by the daughter we welcomed, he'd thunder. Evelyn nodding tear-streaked beside him, their follower count spiking among boomer retirees hungry for outrage. He lawyered up cheap, a bottom feeder from Schaumburg suing for elder financial abuse, claiming my freeze was retaliation for the plea deal. The press nibbled, suburban saga. In-law feud turns frosty over frozen funds. Tabloid fodder. But it stung, me painted as the ice queen. Them the plucky survivors.
Tom bought in.
Hook,
Line.
and sinker. Dinners turned interrogations. Him probing for compromise over pot roast I'd burned in spite. Dad's got cancer scares.
Mads.
Tests pending. Can't you thaw one account? For humanity. Cancer. The word landed like a gut punch, evoking Dad's chemo haze. The way he'd joke through the nausea about investing in Jell-O futures. I caved an inch, unfroze a medical fund. $20,000 earmarked strict. Elena grumbled. Slippery slope, but I waved her off. Mercy, I told myself. Not weakness. It backfired spectacularly. Richard's scare cleared, benign polyp, per the ER bill. But the fund? Drain not on scans, but a down payment on a used RV. There, fresh start, pitch on GoFundMe. Photos hit Insta. The three of them toasting marshmallows in Indiana dunes. Caption Road to Redemption. Tom's text followed. See? They're trying. Your move. Rage reignited. Hotter than a loop high-rise blaze. I called Elena at 2 a.m. Voice steel. Full lockdown. And traced that RV. Repo it yesterday. The repo happened at dawn in a Gary truck stop. State troopers in tow for the civil warrant. Richard live-streamed the tow truck hauling their sanctuary away. His face a mask of feigned shock. Evelyn wailing scripture like a tent revival. Views exploded. 10K. 50K. Pundits on Fox chiming in about generational warfare and the death of family values. Polarizing. Sure. Comments split down aisles. Half cheering my badass boss move, the other decrying me as a heartless harpy. I scrolled numb on the L train to a client meet. The city's pulse mocking my chaos, horns blaring. Vendors hawking chestnuts. Life indifferent. Twist came mid-January. Snow blanketing Elmhurst like a shroud. Elena uncovered the buried secret. The one I'd half suspected but never voiced. The plea deal wasn't just cover. Richard hadn't recruited alone. Tom had known from the jump. Feeding leads to Billy Hargrove during college summers. Pocketing kickbacks that funded his law school tuition. My speculative venture? A fiction we co-wrote. But the seed money, $100K from my inheritance, traced to Tom's offshore drop. Laundered through a Cayman shell. Dad's money. Gone to grease their greed. I confronted Tom in the garage. Amid bins of holiday lights tangled like our lies. You played me from the altar, I hissed. Printouts fluttering like indictments. He deflated. Shoulders slumping against the Subaru. It was survival. Mads. The American way, hustle or starve. Hustle. The word echoed Dad's mantra. Twisted into justification. We argued till frostbite set in. Him pleading for Lily's sake. Me demanding truth. Choose, I said finally. Them or us. He chose flight. Filing for divorce by week's end. Custody battle looming like storm clouds over the lake. The Whitakers? Emboldened. They countersued. Alienation of affection. Elder abuse, turning my revenge into a circus. Richard's book got a sequel bump. Frozen Out, a family's fight for fairness. Climbing Amazon charts on sympathy sales. Evelyn started a podcast. Silver Strands of Justice. Guests including fraud survivors who'd flipped to forgiveness gurus. Cunning. I'll give them, flipping victimhood like pancakes at a diner. Climax brewed in February. Valentine's, ash. Lily's birthday loomed. 9 candles for a girl caught in crossfire. I plan Loki. Cake from Angelo's. A trip to the Field Museum for Dino Bones. But Tom texted, joint party at motel. Grandparents insist. Insist. As if they're theft entitled tantrums. I showed, anyway. Steeling myself in the minivan's warmth.
Heart pounding like a derivative spike.
The motel room reeked of Lysol and desperation, peeling wallpaper. A space heater wheezing defiance. Balloons sagged. Pizza boxes stacked like accusations. Lily lit candles under Evelyn's watchful eye. Her whisper fierce. Make a wish for family? Sweetie. I bit my tongue. But Richard cornered me by the vending machine. Breath sour as regret. End this. Madeline. Thaw the funds. We're blood. Your blood now.
Blood.
The lie burned. You bled me dry, I shot back. This is reclamation. Words escalated. Voices rising over the birthday song's echo. Tom pulled me aside, eyes pleading. For her. Lily. Oblivious. Smeared frosting on Richard's cheek. Laughter a brief sunbreak. But I saw the fracture, her glance darting between us. Weighing loyalties too young. In that moment, doubt crested. Was revenge worth this wreckage? A polarized precipice. Readers, if there were any, picking sides, me the righteous reclaimer, or the wrecker of hearths. I stormed out into the sleet. Tires spinning gravel. Elena's voice on speaker. Pull the trigger? The final play. Expose it all. Leak the traces to the Sun-Times. Tom's complicity front and center. Ruin them utterly. Or walk away hollow victorious. The road blurred. Wipers slashing like judgment. Spring thawed the literal ice. But not the chill in our veins. March brought cherry blossoms to the Mag Mile. Tourists snapping pics under pink canopies while my world wilted like yesterday's news. The leak dropped anonymously, a dossier Elena funneled through a journalist pal at the Tribune. Wire trails. Emails. Tom's Cayman confessions laid bare like a coroner's slab. Headlines screamed suburban scandal, son's secret in-law investment heist. Views viral. Shares spiking like GameStop in a bull run. Richard lawyered up for real this time. A hot shot from the loop with billables that bled him drier. Evelyn went radio silent. Her podcast hiatus announced with a tearful reel. Pray for us. Friends. Tom? He lawyered too. But cheaper. Custody motions flying like frisbees at Grant Park. Unfit mother. The filing read, citing my vindictive asset maneuvers as emotional abuse. Unfit. The word clawed, evoking boardroom rejections. But this, personal as a knife twist. Lily shuttled between us. Her backpack a battered olive branch. Weekends with me meant Field of Dreams reruns and pierogi at Cage's. Pierogi's her guilty pleasure since Grandma Evelyn's visits. But she'd return quiet. Drawings now abstract swirls of gray and red. No stick families. Just voids. School reports trickled. Withdrawn. Anxious. The counselor suggested play therapy. Dolls, reenacting our war. I nodded through sessions, fingering the locket Dad gave me, engraved fortune favors the bold, wondering if boldness was code for brutality. Society picked sides. American as apple pie debates. Online, Madeline versus Whitaker's trended, splitting like a partisan filibuster. Blue-check feminists hailing my fierce financial feminism, MAGA uncles decrying woke wealth hoarding. Richard guested on a pod with that grizzled host who loves real talk, the Joe Rogan of retirees, spinning tales of a daughter's greed versus a father's grace. Listeners lapped it. Donations pouring into their legal fund like tips at a strip club.
Me?
I dodged mics. But Elena pushed a memoir deal, thawed, a woman's reckoning with family fraud. Advances tempted. But I balked. Profiting off pain felt too Whitaker-esque. The antagonist's cunning peaked in April. Tax season's cruel joke. Richard flipped again, offering amends via certified letter. Full restitution. Signed IOU for $650,000. Plus interest at prime +2. Let's heal, it read. Evelyn's cursive PS. Invoking Lily's need for harmony. Harmony. As if our discord was a duet gone off-key. Not a symphony of swindles. Tom echoed in mediation. Neutral ground at a River North conference room smelling of stale bagels. Sign it. Mess. Move on. His eyes. Once my harbor. Now stormy as Superior in gale. I scanned the docs. Elena's red pen slashing clauses like a matador. Buried fine print. Waivers on all claims. Non-disparagement gagging my leaks. It's a trap, she murmured, Cuban accent thick with suspicion. But doubt whispered, Lily's therapy bills mounting. Tom's alimony threats. Controversial calculus, swallow pride for peace. Or double down on the dominoes. I signed, but not clean. Elena slipped a codicil. Payments tied to audits. One whiff of funny business and reversal. The check cleared. First installment. $50,000 wired crisp. Richard celebrated with a presser at the county fairgrounds.
Ahí va les backdrop.
Shaking hands like a county commissioner. Forgiveness wins, he boomed. Evelyn beaming. Tom clapping stiff. I watched from my Prius. Parked incognito. Bile rising. Forgiveness? Or fresh fleece? May bloomed betrayal anew. The second payment bounced. Insufficient funds. Memo. Market volatility. Volatility? My ass. Elena traced it to a new shell. Richard's golf buddy Billy out on parole. Whispering opportunities. They'd flipped the script. Using the IOU as smokescreen to rebuild their Ponzi palace. This time with crypto sheen. NFTs of family resilience art. Evelyn's watercolors digitized and hawked to MAGA widows. $200,000 raised in a month. Funneled offshore faster than a tax haven sprint. Rage. That old friend. Roared back. I rallied Elena. Her team of digital bloodhounds loosing the leashes. We hit back surgical. SEC tips. IRS flags. Even a whisper to Billy's parole officer about associates. The crypto crashed, regulators circling like vultures over roadkill. Richard's fairground glow dimmed, eviction notices taped to motel doors. Evelyn's pod relaunched as strands of survival. But downloads tanked, sponsors fleeing like rats from a subprime ship. Tom confronted me at neutral ground, Lily's soccer game in Naperville. Sidelines muddy under relentless drizzle. You're destroying them, us, he yelled over cheers. His umbrella inverting in wind. Dad's suicidal. Mess. Pills in the drawer. Suicidal. The claim landed heavy, evoking Dad's final days. The way he'd grip my hand, whispering don't let them win. But who was them now? I scanned the bleachers. Richard hunched. Evelyn dabbing eyes. Lily dribbling oblivious. Polarization peaked. Forgive the flip-floppers for the child's sake. Or prosecute the predators to preserve principle. You chose this, I said, voice rain-muffled. When you hid the Caymans. He flinched. Revelation raw. I did it for love, for you. Then her.
Love.
The ultimate American excuse. From Ponzi kings to philandering Pauls. We stood. Drizzle turning deluge. As Lily scored, net ripple a brief triumph. That night, alone in the house echoing with ghosts, I weighed the scales. Revenge's high wore thin, leaving blisters, Lily's therapy, my isolation, the mirror reflecting a woman hardened to obsidian. Elena called, we can end it. Full freeze. Public perp walk. End it. But endings in America aren't tidy. There's sequels in waiting. Twists tucked like aces. The call came at midnight. Tom's voice fractured. Dad's gone. Overdose. Real this time.
Gone.
The word vacuumed air, leaving silence thick as fog off the lake. Guilt crashed. Controversial wave, was my pursuit the push? Or their fraud the fall? I drove through dawn's gray, arriving at the ER where Evelyn wailed in a vinyl chair, Tom pacing like a caged wolf. Richard lay pale on a gurney, tube snaking. Doctors murmuring stomach pump and stabilized. Not gone, a faint. Pills popped for drama. Tox screen showing half-dose theatrics. Richard woke groggy, eyes locking mine with feigned frailty. You win, he croaked. But Elena's text buzzed. Diversion. Funds transferred mid-suicide, $300K to Billy. The flip. Masterful. Stage a spectacle to siphon the last. Climax crusted there. In that sterile room humming with beeps. I stepped forward. Voice steady as Lake Michigan's horizon. Game over. Richard.
Fait en route.
His mask cracked, cunning yielding to cornered rat. Evelyn gasped. Tom froze. Lily dragged along by Tom, clutched my leg, eyes wide. Mommy, polarized pinnacle. Expose and exile them. Shattering Lily's world. Or Mercy's muzzle. Letting snakes slither? Sirens wailed distant.
Closing in. Issues.
The feds swarmed like ants on a picnic.
Badges flashing under fluorescence.
Cuffs clicking on Richard's wrists before the morphine fully wore off. Billy's name dropped in the sweep, parole revoked. Crypto kingdom crumbling under warrant weight. Evelyn clutched her rosary, murmuring Hail Marys as agents Mirandized her for accessory. Her silver strands now a noose of complicity. Tom, hauled for questioning. His Deloitte dreams dissolving in dawn's indifferent light. Lily buried her face in my coat, the sterile scent of antiseptic mingling with her shampoo, strawberry. Innocent as Eden before the bite. I scooped her up, weights light as a promise, and walked out into a world remade. Reporters camped the lot, mics thrusting like bayonets. Questions barbed. MS. Harper. Was this justice or jihad? I shielded her eyes. No comment slipping my lips. Elena's PR script burned in my brain. Justice. The word echoed hollow as the automatic doors whooshed shut behind us. Back home, Elmhurst streets bloomed defiant, tulips thrusting through mulch, birdsong mocking the melee. Lily napped on the couch, exhausted by the chaos she'd glimpsed, while I brewed chamomile strong as resolve. Elena videoed in, her face sun-kissed from the keys. Clean sweep. Madeline. Charges stick fraud. Money laundering. Elder endangerment on Richard. Irony's cherry. Endangerment. They'd endangered us all. But the flip? Prosecutors eyed Tom's role. Plea deals dangling like carrots in a kangaroo court. The twist uncoiled that afternoon. Parcel from the motel clerk. Richard's final letter, scrawled in hospital jello haste. You think you won. Daughter? Check the addendum. Addendum. My pulse spiked. Fingers fumbling the envelope within a custody petition. Filed pre-suicide, alleging my manipulative freezes rendered me unstable. Signed witness, Tom. And deeper. The gut kick. Lily's trust. $200,000 siphoned years back. Gifted to her grandparents' education fund, now evaporated in their scams. My girl's future. Pilfered like pocket change. Rage's embers flared, but tempered now, matured to calculated coal. I called Elena, counter hard. Full forensic on the trust. She grinned.
Shark teeth.
Already on it. And Mads? Memoir offer doubled post-bust. You're a folk hero. Hero. Controversial crown. Thorns of debate. Avenger or avaricious. Forums frothed. Good for her. Teaching grifters a lesson. Versus heartless. Pushed a man to pills. Polarization's perfect storm. America divided as ever. Summer simmered in. Trials ticking like a doomsday clock. Richard pled out 10 years federal. No golf for Gramps. Evelyn got house arrest. Her blog banned. Rosary her only accessory. Tom, community service. Disbarment pending. His golden boy sheen tarnished to tin. Custody hearing loomed in July. Oak Park courtroom stuffy as a confessional. I prepped with shrinks and spreadsheets. Lily's drawings entered as exhibits, swirls softening to suns. A subconscious vote. The judge, a no-nonsense widow from Joliet with eagle eyes, grilled us. Tom's testimony twisted. Madeline's pursuit was righteous. Your Honor. But excessive, traumatizing our daughter. Righteous. The concession stung sweet. His flip from defender to damaged. My turn, measured, metrics in hand. They stole not just money, but security mine. Lily's. I reclaimed to rebuild. Elena's affidavit sealed it. Fraud's full ledger. My freezes as firewall. Not felony. Verdict dropped like summer thunder. Sole custody to me. Supervised visits for Tom post-therapy. Lily hugged me fierce in the hall, whispering Team Mommy, her choice a balm on blistered soul. Richard watched from orange jumpsuit via video link. Face etched defeat, no cunning left. Just a man who'd hustled his way to hell. Fall foliage framed our fresh start, leaf peeping in Door County. Lake Michigan's waves whispering absolution. My portfolio? Rebalanced. Blooming boulder. A chunk seated in Lily's ironclad 529. Work surged. Consulting firm launched. Harper Horizons. Branding on billboards along I-90. Elena partnered in. Her Miami flair spicing my Midwest grind. Tom? He rented a studio in the city. Therapy Tuesdays. Weekend dad, thawing slow. I'm sorry, he said over coffee neutrals. Eyes earnest. For all of it.
Sorry.
First step in 12. But steps count. The final twist? Buried in Richard's effects. Seized by feds. A thumb drive. Confessions digitized. Not just crimes, regrets. I envied her fire.
Tom.
Made you soft.
Envy.
The root rot. A father's resentment of his son's wife's will. It humanized him. Controversial coda. Monster or mere mortal. Felled by frailty. I watched the file once. Then deleted. Debate fodder for forums. Not my firewall. Winter 26 blanketed clean. First snow fat flakes on Lincoln Park paths. Lily built forts with me, giggling as we tunneled to treasure. Chocolate coins from Dad's old recipe. Tom joined once. Truce tentative as thin ice. The Whitakers? Letters from lockup. Evelyn's pleas for forgiveness. Richard's silence a sentence served. I filed them away. Not heartless, but healed. Was it happy? Tragic? American as it gets, messy mix. No binaries. Revenge reclaimed, but at what cost? Lily's laugh answers, echoing free. And in quiet nights, Cabernet in hand, I toast the bold, to fortune's favored. Families forged in fire, and the endless debate of who really won.